you can draw this in Procreate. During this beginner-friendly Procreate tutorial, I will guide you through the process of creating this underwater scene in 5 easy steps. We'll start off by creating our happy little fish. Then I'll show you how you can create a variety of plants. Then I'll show you how you can work efficiently by duplicating those plants and recoloring them. Next, we'll add nice lighting and glow to our scene. And then finally, we'll multiply our fish and add a bunch of bubbles. I will guide you through every single step, so I'm sure you will end up with a great result. And it would be great if you would share it. If you're sharing it on Instagram, tag me in the image so I'll be able to find it. I always enjoy seeing such a great variety of results from my tutorials. Oh, and if you get really enthusiastic about following these Procreate tutorials, then I think you should check out my Patreon page. I have a crazy amount of Procreate tutorials there. We will create a new unique project every single week, and you will get exclusive brushes. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. But now for this tutorial, let's dive in. We will be working on a canvas that is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels. And I have left a color palette linked in the description. And we'll be using both brushes that are already in the Procreate app and some of my free brushes that you can get by going to freefromflow.com. But now let's not delay any longer and get started. In this first chapter, we are going to create our little fish. But first, let's drop in a color for our background. Let's grab this first color in the first row and let's drag it onto our canvas. And now we'll make a new layer on top of this layer. So we'll go to the layer menu and tap the plus. And then for our color, let's grab this one over here. That's the second color in the second row. And for our brush, we will use the monoline brush, which you can find under calligraphy. For the brush, the opacity should be at 100%, and I have the size set to 30%. And now we are going to make an oval like this, and then hold your pen in place for a nice, perfect oval, something like this. And then let's drag in the color to fill this shape. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now we are going to adjust this shape a little bit by going to the magic wand and then to liquefy. Then set it to push with distortion and momentum set to none. Pressure is set to max. And I have the size set to 45%. And I can push on the outside a little bit and shape the body of your fish. Sometimes it's easier to sculpt your shape this way than to draw it in one go. So let's make the front a little bit more flat. Let's go for something like this. Then we are going to add a tail. Let's grab the brush again, and then we'll add a little tail. Add a shape like this, attach it to the body, and drag in the color. Then let's carve out a mouth for our fish. We'll do that with the eraser. And let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the script brush. The script brush, when you press hard, it'll be thicker, and when you press lightly, it'll be thin. I have the opacity at 100%, and let's set the size to 15. And let's go in here and press lightly here, and then harder as you move to the outside, and add a little mouth like this. So he gets a nice happy smile. Now we are going to add some more color to our fish. Let's tap the layer that we have with our fish and then turn on alpha lock. Once you have turned on alpha lock, you can only draw on the shape that you already have here. So let's grab a color. We'll grab this one. That's the 5th color in the second row. And you can see that when I go over the fish, the color will only show up on the shape. We can stick with the monoline brush. Now let's first make a curved shape like this. Make it a bit thicker. Follow the curve of the body. Imagine that it's a 3D shape. Also add a little bit of color here. And then on the edge of the tail. And I'd also like to add some blue. We'll add this color, 4th color in the second row. And let's add that here. Let's leave a little bit of orange near the tail and fill this with this blue. Then let's make a new layer on top of this fish layer. Let's tab the plus And on this layer, we are going to create an eye. Now for the color, we'll go back to that 5th color in the 2nd row. And then we are going to draw a circle. Hold your pen in place. You can tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And then let's drag in the color. And then we are going to add another circle on top. So we'll go back to the layer menu, tap the plus. And then for the color, we'll grab this one, 6th color in the 2nd row. And let's make our brush a little bit smaller. Let's set it to 10%. And make another circle right in here. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen, and then drag in the color. Then let's grab the eraser and let's set it to the monoline brush. You can do that by just tapping and holding, and it'll automatically switch to the brush you're using as a painting brush. So that's the monoline brush. The opacity should be at 100%, and let's set the size to maybe 20. And then let's add a little highlight here. Now I do feel like the eye might be a little bit big, so let's make it a little bit smaller. We'll select both of these layers by sliding to the right so they are both blue. Then go to the little arrow here to move and transform tool. Make sure to set it to uniform. And let me turn off snapping here. We don't need that. And then you can use one of these handles to make the eye a little bit smaller. Place it a little bit lower, about here. Next, I want to add a little bit of shadow around the eye. Let's go back to the layer menu and let's duplicate this one. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, then tap the bottom one and drag in that dark color on the eye. You won't see anything right now, but when you go to your layer menu, you'll see that this is black. And now we are going to blur it slightly. We'll go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, and slide to the right on your screen with your pen, just a little bit, let's say 2%. And then once you're happy with your eye, you can merge these 3 layers by pinching them together like this. Next, we'll make another layer underneath our fish. So first tap this layer, layer 1, and then tap the plus. And then for our color, we'll grab this one, 3rd color in the 2nd row. And for your brush, you can either use the monoline brush or the script brush, whichever you prefer. The script brush, I feel like it gives a little bit more control because it has that pressure sensitivity. So when you press harder, your stroke will become thicker, and if you press lightly, it'll become thinner. But of course, that only works if you are using a pen that has pressure sensitivity like the Apple Pencil, but the monoline brush would work fine as well. Now the opacity is at 100%, the size at 12. Now we are going to add some fins. Like here on its back, we'll add a fin like this. Make sure to close the shape and then drag in the color. Then another fin over here. Drag in the color. And let's add one here. Then let's switch to that dark color, that 6th color in the 2nd row. And we'll add that inside of its mouth. Let's add a shape like this. And a little bit over here towards the front of its mouth. Then let's add some more color variety to these fins. Let's do that by first turning on Alpha Lock. So we'll tap the layer and then tap Alpha Lock. And then let's add some orange. So we'll grab that 2nd color in the 2nd row. And for instance, we can make some stripes like this. And maybe some over here. You can vary the thickness. Let's create an interesting pattern. And I'll leave this one red. Next, let's add some shadow on these fins. And we will do that by duplicating this layer with the body. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, then go to that bottom one and select our dark color, our 6th color in the 2nd row. Then we'll tap the layer again and use fill layer. Just make sure that Alpha Lock is also turned on. Then tap fill layer, then turn off Alpha Lock, then tap the layer again and turn on clipping mask. So now that whatever we draw on this layer will only show up on the shapes here. So let me just demonstrate with the script brush. It'll only show up on those fins. Now we are going to blur this layer that we have with the body shape. So we'll go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, and slide to the right. So we get that little bit of a shadow. Now let's go to the move and transform tool, the little arrow, and just move it downward a little bit. So we get more shadow at the bottom. Now for some extra shadow, we'll go to our brushes and go to the treasure chest brush pack, which you can get for free if you go to freefromflow.com. It has more than 80 brushes. And we are going to use the spackle brush. And for the color, let's use that red that we have. Third color in the second row. And we'll also go to the layer and change the layer blending mode. We'll tab the N and then scroll up to multiply. So whatever color you put on this layer, it'll end up looking darker on that layer underneath. So now we are using red, but it will look darker on this layer. And for the size of this brush, we'll go for 10%, and the opacity is at 75%. Now let's go over this underside and add some of those red spackles. Maybe a few over here as well. And we can also switch to that darker color, that sixth color in the second row, to add some darker spackles as well for a nice effect. Then let's also add some light. Let's do that on a different layer. We'll tap the plus and make sure to set this new layer to clipping mask. So whatever we paint, it'll only show up on those fins. And now we are going to set the layer blending mode to screen, which is perfect for highlights. Everything will look lighter. First, let's add some spackles, and for the color, let's use this one. First color in the second row. And let's go over the top here. Adding some lighter texture, some nice spackles. And then we'll go even lighter and use our script brush again under calligraphy. And for the color, we'll grab this one. Fifth color in the second row. And let's add a light edge right here at the top. All right, now let's do something similar for the body. Let's go to this layer and then let's tap the plus, set this layer to clipping mask so that whatever we do, it'll only show up on that body. Then tab the N and set the layer blending mode to multiply so we can add shadow. Then let's go back to the spackle brush. Now you can actually go all the way to the top to your recent brushes and grab it there. You'll find all the brushes that you have used recently. And then for the color, let's just add a little mix. Let's start with this third color in the second row. And let's go over the underside of the body. We're imagining the light is coming from the top, and the bottom of his body will be in shadow. We'll start with this reddish color. But we can also add a bit of that darker color, that sixth color in the second row. Let's go over this area again, and especially in the lowest parts, you can add a bit more of that darker color. So something like this looks good. Now let's make a light layer, a screen layer. We'll tap the plus again, tap that new layer, set it to clipping mask, tap the N, and scroll down to screen. Then we'll grab that light yellow again, first color in the second row, and let's go over the top here, over the top of its body, where the light is hitting. Just make multiple strokes. You can make these rounded motions, slowly building that light up. Let's also add a bit here, especially here on its head. And then let's also grab the script brush again. And for the color, let's start with this orange, second color in the second row. And let's just add some texture here, some light lines on its tail. Then let's switch to that light color, 5th color in the 2nd row, and we'll add a little light edge at the top. All the way to the front, like this. And let's also add a little highlight here on its mouth. Then all you need is a little flipper. Let's tap the plus for another layer, and let's use our script brush. And for the color, let's use this one. 1st color in the 2nd row. And then let's just draw a little flipper here. Like this. Close the shape, drag in the color. And you can always go to your eraser and then adjust it a little bit, add a little bit of like a bend here, a little curve. And then let's add some texture. Let's tap this new layer and turn on Alpha Lock. And then let's add some spackles again. Let's use the spackle brush and grab the orange color, 2nd color in the 2nd row. And let's just go over here. Add those little spackles. And then let's also add some lines. Let's use the script brush for that. And then let's just add a few lines. Let's make them a bit smaller. Let's go for 5% in size. And make lines like this. Then I want to make this flipper thingy a little bit transparent. And we'll do that by adding a layer mask to this layer. Tap the layer, then give it a mask. And then on this white layer, we can paint with black to make parts a bit more transparent. And the brush we'll use is the spackle brush. And we need to set it to black. You can double tap here to grab black. And then just go over it a bit to make it slightly transparent. And that's it for our fish. I think he looks happy. And if you're happy as well, then you can merge all of the layers of your fish. Just don't merge them with the background layer. You can pinch all of these together. And now we have just one layer for our fish, and we can move on to the next chapter. In this section, we are going to create a variety of plants. And it doesn't really matter where you place them, because later we can move them around and create a nice composition. So we'll just be focusing on creating these plants. Let's first make a new layer so we don't paint on our background layer or our fish layer. So let's tap the plus. And for our brush, we'll use the script brush. And for the color, let's use this one, 2nd color in the 3rd row. And for the size of the brush, let's go for 12%. Now we are going to create a wavy shape. Just make these random shapes like this. It's a bit like an exercise you do when learning how to write, I guess. Make these nice fluent motions and then connect it here at the bottom. Then drag in the color, and then we'll go ahead and shade this. We'll do that with our spackle brush again, but first we need to turn on Alpha Lock on this layer. So we'll tap the layer, turn on Alpha Lock. Then for our brush, we'll go to the spackle brush, and for the color, we'll grab this one, 3rd color in the 3rd row. And now let's go over this underside. Let's actually make the brush a bit bigger, 45%. And let's go over this underside, making that a lot darker. Don't go all the way to the tops. Just go for something like this, and then let's add some light by using the 1st color in the 3rd row. And we'll just add that to the tops here. Making these rounded motions like this. And then once you have this, you can make a new layer on top of this. We'll tap the plus, and we'll go back to our script brush. And for the color, we'll go back to that 2nd color in the 3rd row. And now we are going to make some more shapes. And they can overlap the others. Try to make a variety of thick and thin shapes. close the shape, drag in the color, and then we'll do the same as we just did. So we'll tap the layer again, turn on Alpha Lock, and with our spackle brush, we'll add the shading. We'll start with the dark color, the third color in the third row, and we'll go over the bottom part. Make these rounded motions. And then switch to the light color, the first color in the third row, and go over the top parts. And then let's do this one more time. Let's make a new layer. Let's tap the plus. And for our brush, we'll go back to the script brush. And for the color, we'll go back to the second color in the third row. And let's make more shapes. Close the shape here at the bottom and drag in the color. And you can actually also move it around. Use the move and transform tool here at the top and place it however you like. I'll go for this. Then go back to your layer menu, tap that layer and turn on Alpha Lock so you can start shading. We'll grab the spackle brush again, and for the color, we'll start with the third color in the third row. And then we'll darken that lower part again. And then we'll grab the light color, first color in the third row, and we'll go over the tops. So now we have a nice looking plant. Let's merge the plant layers here like this, and then let's turn it off and make another type of plant. So let's tap the plus for a new layer. For this plant, we are going to use a different color. We'll grab this one over here, fifth color in the third row. And for the brush, we need the script brush again. We're going to make a long looking plant. First, we'll make a line like this, and then we'll add these leaf shapes. Now this side. All along that long line that you have created. Make them nice and wobbly and vary the sizes a bit. And over here. And another one here. Then drag in a color. And here at the top, you can use continue filling and just tap all these areas that you also want to fill. Then let's go to the layer menu, tap the layer and turn on Alpha Lock so we can add some shading. We'll grab the spackle brush again, and for the color, let's grab this one, fourth color in the third row. And let's go over this lower area. Add some of that darker color. And then let's also grab the light color we have, that first color in the third row. And let's go over the top parts and this left side for some nice color variety. Then I want to add a little line here. Let's grab a different brush for that. Let's go to the treasure chest brush pack again and grab the fine liner brush. Then let's turn off Alpha Lock on the layer. So we'll tap it, turn off Alpha Lock. And for this brush, the opacity is at 100% and the size is at 30. And I will make a line through the center upward. And we'll add some side lines, some veins here. Just like this. Then to blend this a little bit, we can turn Alpha Lock back on. So tap the layer, turn on Alpha Lock. We'll go back to the spackle brush. Let me grab it from here. Then grab that dark color again, fourth color in the third row. And then let's go over this bottom part a little bit just to blend that in a little bit. I think this looks good. So now we have two types of plants. And now let's make another type. We are going to make a new layer. First, let's turn this one off. Now let's tap the plus. And then for our color, we are going to use this one, 8 color in the third row. For our brush, we need the script brush again. Let's go to our recent brushes, grab the script brush, and we are going to make a big shape like this, a bit like a rock. Like this, then drag in the color. And then we'll make a new layer on top. We'll tap the plus. And for our color, we'll grab this one. That's the 7th color in the third row. And now we are going to fill the shape with these random shapes like this. A bit like cells. And vary the sizes a bit, vary the shapes a little bit. Make them close together, but do leave a little gap. Try to vary big ones with some small ones in between. Until you have filled the entire shape like this. Then let's go to the layer and turn on alpha lock. And then we'll grab our spackle brush again. And then we'll add some shading to these shapes. First, let's grab this color. That's the 8th color in the third row. It's our darker color. Let's go over the underside a bit. Just with some random motions, darken that up a little bit. Then we'll grab a light color. We'll grab this one. That's the 6th color in the third row. And let's go over the top. Then let's grab our fine liner brush again. And with this color, let's go over some of the tops. Let's make our brush a little bit smaller actually. Let's go for 10%. Now let's go over these top edges, adding these little highlights. Just the tops of these shapes. And just the ones that are close to the top. The bottom ones are a bit more in shadow anyway. Just a bit like this. Perhaps one over here as well. And then to add even more interest, let's grab the script brush and add some like holes in here. Let's grab this color again, 8 color in the third row. And let's just add some of these little dots. And you don't have to put these in all of the shapes. They look even more like cells this way. Just in random parts, a bit like this. And then let's add even more texture. Let's grab the spackle brush again, and for the color, let's grab this one again, 6th color in the third row, and let's go over the top, blend these little circles a bit more, and then let's do something similar for this layer. Let's tap it, turn on alpha lock, and then for the color, let's grab this one. That's the 7th color in the third row, and let's lighten that top part a bit. Just with these rounded motions. And perhaps we can go even lighter with this color, 6 color in the 3rd row, and add a bit more here, like this. Once you're happy, you can pinch these together, and now we have 3 types of underwater plants or coral or whatever you would call this. And now for this next section, we are going to duplicate these, rearrange them, and recolor them. So let's turn these layers back on and let's duplicate them. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate for each of these layers. So we have a duplicate, but let's turn the duplicates off. And now let's rearrange this. Let's start with the top one here. Let's zoom out. And then let's go to the Move and Transform tool, the little arrow. And let's place this one down here. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, perhaps. Something like this. Then let's go to this one. And let's place it on top of that other one. Then let's go to the Move and Transform tool. And let's place this one about here. Then we'll go to this layer, again to the Move and Transform tool. And maybe we can make this one a little bit smaller. Place it behind this one. And then let's go back to our layers. Let's grab this one over here. Let's turn it on. Then let's go to the Move and Transform tool. And we can flip it horizontal here at the bottom. Place this one behind the shape. And let's recolor it. First, let's tap the arrow here. Then we'll go to the magic wand and then to Use Saturation Brightness. Then with this slider, with the U slider, you can change the color. And I'd like it to be a bit pinkish. We can play around with the saturation. Let's go for something like this. Then let's make another one. So let's duplicate this one. Let's slide to the left, go to the bottom one, then to the Move and Transform tool, and place this one behind the other one. Let's make it a bit smaller, rotate it a bit. Let's go for something like this. And then let's change the color again. Let's tap the arrow, go to the magic wand, then to Use Saturation Brightness. And for this one, I want it to be blue, like this. Maybe turn up the saturation a bit, play around with the sliders. Yeah, I like this. Then let's just make one other one. Let's duplicate this one again. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate. And I want this one to be in the foreground. So let's move it all the way to the top. Then go to the Move and Transform tool and place this one over here in this corner, covering that part a little bit. And let's also change the color. So we'll go to the magic wand to Use Saturation Brightness. And let's make this one blue as well. Something like this. Maybe turn up the saturation. And then let's duplicate this shape a bunch of times. Let's first go to our first duplicate. Let's turn that on. Then let's go to the Move and Transform tool. Move it around and place it over here. And you can also set this to freeform, so you can change the ratio a bit, stretch it a bit, go for something like this. And then let's change the color. Let's go to the magic wand, Use Saturation Brightness, and we can make this one a bit pinkish. Just slightly different from the other one. Now let's make another duplicate. Let's go to this layer again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, and let's place it underneath the others over here. Then go to the Move and Transform tool, and let's place it about here. Maybe make it a little bit more squished. Now let's change the color. Let's go to the magic wand, Use Saturation Brightness, slightly change it, maybe a bit reddish, but a bit, yeah. Maybe a bit more towards the oranges. Maybe a little bit darker. You can turn down the brightness. Yeah, I like this. Then let's go to these plants again. Let's turn this one on. Then let's move it around with the Move and Transform tool. Let's flip it horizontal. And I want to place it about here. Let's first set this to uniform. Place it about here, but I want it to be behind this plant. So we need to move it downwards. Let's place it here. And let's duplicate it again. Let's duplicate it twice. Slide to the left, have duplicate, then go to the Move and Transform tool. Make this one smaller. Place one here. And then for the other one, that's over here. Go to the Move and Transform tool. Rotate it, make it smaller. And place that about here. Then let's pinch these together. You can make this one layer, but leave the other plants on their own layers because later I want to add some glow and some shadow. So keep it like this for now. Now we are going to fill the rest of the areas with extra plants, but we'll add some variation. I don't want to duplicate these plants only, but also, yeah, add some new stuff. So first, let's go and make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. And then for our brush, let's use the script brush. And for our color, let's use this one, 9th color in the 3rd row. And I want to create a shape behind here. And it'll be a bit different than the other plants. A bit like this. And it'll be a bit like a rounded shape. Something like this. You need to make sure you close the shape and then drag in the color. Now it needs to be in front of this plant, so we need to check those plants. That's this one and this one. I want to move them to the back, so let's select them both like this. Then tap and hold. And then once you have these, drag them to the bottom. Then let's go back to this shape. Let's add some shading. Let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, then go to our spackle brush. And let's first grab this red. That's the 8th color in the 3rd row. Let's go over here with rounded motions, adding some shading there. And then let's go even darker. Let's grab this color, 6th color in the 2nd row, and use that here at the bottom. And then for some light color, we'll grab this one. That's the 6th color in the 3rd row, and we'll go over the tops here. Then for some more plants, let's make one on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. Let's grab the script brush again. And for the color, let's grab this one, 4th color in the 2nd row. And then I'd just like to add another one of those wavy like shapes. Something like this. Make sure to close it, drag in the color, and then let's add some texture. Let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock. Then for the brush, go to the spackle brush. And for the color, let's grab this one, 3rd color in the 1st row. A nice bright blue. Let's add it to the top here. But of course you can definitely play around with the colors. Then let's grab a dark one, this one, 6th color in the 2nd row for some shadow here at the bottom. And then for another plant in between, let's tap the plus for another layer and then grab the script brush. And then let's grab this color, 10th color in the 3rd row for a nice pink plant. And let's just place it in between here. Close the shape, drag in the color. Then let's add the shading. So we'll tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, then grab our spackle brush, and then first this dark red, 8 color in the 3rd row. We'll go over at the bottom part. Then we'll add some light. We'll use this color, 6 color in the 3rd row. We'll add that to the ends, the tops here. Let's make multiple strokes. Then let's make another layer on top. Let's tap the plus, grab the script brush again, add our pink, that 10th color in the 3rd row, and make another shape on top. Like this, close it, drag in the color, and then add that shading again. Tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, go to the spackle brush, and first grab the red, 8 color in the 3rd row. Go over that underside. Then let's go even darker. Let's grab the 6 color in the 2nd row and go over here. And then for our light color, we'll grab this one again, 6 color in the 3rd row. Then I want to add an extra little touch. Let's grab our script brush again. Let's pinch these 2 layers together. And then let's grab our pink, our 10th color in the 3rd row. And let's just add some of these ovals, just to make this one a little bit different than the other plants. Then finally, let's add a few more plants in the foreground. So let's make a layer on top of the others. So go all the way to the top, then tap the plus. Then let's grab this color, 2nd color in the 3rd row. For our brush, we need the script brush. And let's just make a few of these plant-like shapes, covering the others a bit. Drag in the color. Let's make another one over here. So we get a nice variety. Drag it in, then add some texture. Let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, then grab the spackle brush. And then for our color, let's grab this one first, 3rd color in the 3rd row. Go over the bottom part and here as well. And I also want to add some blue there. Let's grab this color, 4th color in the 2nd row. Of course, there's always a lot of blue reflecting underwater. And then for the lighter section, we'll grab this color, 1st color in the 3rd row, and we'll go over the tops. In this next section, I want to work a bit more on the lighting and the shadow. First of all, I want to darken some of the shadow areas for these plants. So let's start, let's start with this plant over here. Let's grab the spackle brush and a dark color, the 6th color in the 2nd row. And then let's go over the bottom part, add a bit more of that darker shadow, and we'll do that for a bunch of these plants. For this, we already have done it for this as well and this. So let's go to this plant, go over there, and darken it a bit here. We'll do the same for the pink plant here. Go over the bottom area. And this will separate these different plants a bit from each other. Then the next one over here. Darken this side. And then move on to this one, our pinkish coral thingy. And then finally this plant over here, our blue one. Let's also add a little bit of that darker touch here. And then let's go all the way to the bottom, to our background layer, our water layer. I want to add a gradient there. And to do that, I want to go to the airbrushing brushes and use the soft brush. Then let's stick with this dark color. And I want to add this dark color to the bottom of our background. Now the opacity of the brush is at 60%. Let's set the size to 20. And let's go over this lower area to about here. And at the top, I'd like some light. So let's grab this color, third color in the first row, and let's add that to the top. You can paint outside of your canvas. So you get something like this. And then let's blur it by going to the magic wand and then to Gaussian blur. And then slide to the right. Let's go for 25% and then tap the magic wand again. Now we are going to add some more glow. Let's just do that on a new layer just to be sure. Let's tap the plus and let's first add some more of this blue. Let's add that in the center area behind our fish. So something like this. Then let's go even lighter with this color, fourth color in the first row. And let's add that in the center at the top. Then we'll blur it again by going to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, slide to the right. To, let's say, 35%. And then tap the magic wand again. Then we'll add the water surface. Let's just pinch these two together, then tap the plus, and we'll set the layer blending mode of this layer to add, which is also great for lighting effects. And for our brush, we will go back to the calligraphy brushes and use the script brush. And then for our color, we'll use this one, third color and the first row. And then let's just make some wobbly lines here at the top, and another one, and another one, to get that suggestion of the water surface. This is enough. Now we are going to add some light rays, and we'll do that on a new layer. Let's tap the plus for a new layer. Let's set this to add as well. So tap the N, scroll down to add. Let's stick with this color. And then let's go to the selection tool. That's the S shaped ribbon. Set it to freehand with color fill turned on. You'll know that it's turned on when it's blue. And now we are going to make some light rays. Start here at the top and then make shapes like this. And every time when you go back to the top, you can tap the little circle to close your selection. Let's make some random thin light rays. Maybe another one here. Something like this. Then tap the S shape ribbon again. Then go to the magic wand and Gaussian blur. slide to the right to, well, let's say 9%. And now let's lower the opacity of this layer. Let's tap the A, slide to the left, maybe 15%. Maybe we can blur it even more. Let's go back to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur. Maybe we can add 5%. Now let's duplicate this layer by sliding to the left, tapping duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool and rotate this so we can add some extra light rays. And for this one, we can lower the opacity a bit. Make this one 8%. Maybe duplicate the bottom one again. And rotate this one as well. And you can also use distort to move these light rays around. So you get something like this. I think this looks nice. Now let's pinch these light rays layers together like this, and then we'll add a layer mask. We'll tap the layer, add a mask, then grab a soft brush under airbrushing, set it to black, and now we can go over these sides a little and over here and fade it a little bit. The light rays don't reach all the way to the bottom. We can make them a bit more subtle like this. Next, for the lighting effect, I'd like to add some glow to our plants. Let's start with these. First, make sure to turn off alpha lock, then go to the magic wand and then to bloom and slide to the right. Just gently, maybe 21%. You can play around with the size and with the burn to give it a slight glow. I'm at 21% with a size of 26 and a burn of 36. And then I'll move to the next plant. This one, make sure to turn off alpha lock, then go to the magic wand to bloom and slide to the right. I think this looks nice at 23%. Then I'll move on to the next plant. Once you're happy with plants, you can pinch them together to save some layer space. Then let's move on to this one, tap it, turn off alpha lock, go to the magic wand, then to bloom, and a slide to the right. Let's play around with the size and the burn. I'll go for this, 23% bloom, 23% size, and 32% burn. And then move on to this one. Turn off alpha lock, go to bloom, slide to the right. I think this looks nice actually, 27%. Then on to the next one. Turn off alpha lock, go to the magic wand, then to bloom, slide to the right. You can see that for some colors, you need to slide further than for other colors to get the same effect. I'll go for 56% bloom, in this case, 15% in size and 22% burn, and then move on to the next one. Turn off alpha lock, then go to the magic wand to bloom and slide to the right. I think this looks pretty nice. Let's set it to 40% and move on to the next one. This blue one, I think we can leave that alone since it's a bit more in the shadow. Then go for this one, turn off alpha lock, go to the magic wand, then to bloom, slide to the right. This looks nice. Let's go for 34%. And then let's go and skip this one. Since it's also a bit more in the shadow, let's go for that middle one. Tap it, turn off alpha lock, go to the magic wand, then to bloom, slide to the right. This looks nice. 28%. And then I think that's enough glow for our plants. So once you're happy, you can pinch them all together And this one as well, so we can save some layer space. Just don't do this if you want to be able to adjust things later on. If you have enough layer space, then you can just keep them. Now let's also add some glow to our fish. I think that would look nice. So let's turn off Alpha Lock, then go to the magic wand, then to bloom, and give that a little bit of glow as well. I think that looks nice. Let's play around with the settings. I think this looks good. 18% bloom, 35% in size, and 55% burn. If you want to see the before and after, then you can tap on your screen with your finger and then use this preview option. So you can tap it to see the before and then the after. I like this glow. Then tap the magic wand and again. And now for this final section, we are going to add more fish and add some bubbles. Let's first duplicate our fish. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, and go to the bottom one, then to the move and transform tool. And while you have it set to uniform, you can simply make it smaller or bigger. I have my interpolation set to bilinear. And then just make it smaller. Maybe flip it horizontal. Add a little fish here above him. And then tap the arrow to get out of here. You can also duplicate your fish by sliding down with 3 fingers and then using duplicate. And then you can continue adding more fish. And tapping the arrow again, swiping down, tapping duplicate. And then you can add multiple fish until you have a nice little group, until you feel like you have enough. Flip them every once in a while to vary them a little bit. Then the arrow, duplicate this one, flip it, vary the size. The ones that are closer to the viewer will look a bit bigger. And then let's just duplicate this one more time. Have another one here. And these fish that are in the background, they will look a bit more blurry. Now you can vary it a bit. You can grab the ones that are further away, the smaller ones. So this one is a bit bigger. This one is the biggest. This one is also a bit big. And these are all smaller. Let's see, and this is a big one. So we have 4 little small ones. Let's pinch them together. Then let's go to the magic wand and to Gaussian blur. And then slide to the right to blur them a bit. I'll go for 3%. And now we have the other 2. Well, this one is pretty close, so I'll leave that alone. But we have this one. That's this one. And we have that one. So let's pinch these together as well. Then go back to the magic wand and to Gaussian blur. And blur these a bit less than the ones that are further away. So I'll go for a low 2%. And then once you're happy, you can pinch the background fish together. I'll leave this one on a separate layer. You never know if you want to add even more fish. And then finally, let's add some bubbles. Let's put those on a layer on top of all the others. Let's tap the plus. Now for our bubble, we are going to make use of our selection tool, the S shape ribbon. Set it to ellipse with color filtered off. And now let's make a circular selection. If you tap your finger on the screen, you will get a perfectly round circle. Let's go for something like this. Then for our brush, let's go to the luminance brushes and use the light pen. For the color, we'll grab this one. 4th color in the 1st row. Let's go in here. Now the opacity is at 100% and the size is at 44. And now let's gently go along the outer edge here. Add a little light there and on the upper left. And then let's add a little highlight here and a little twinkle here. Then turn off the selection And I see I have a very simple little bubble. And now just like with the fish, we can start duplicating this. We can slide down with 3 fingers, use duplicate, move it around, and place a bunch of bubbles everywhere. And you can continue doing this until you feel you have a nice amount. Every time, slide down with 3 fingers, use duplicate, and also vary the size. And if you're running out of layer space, just pinch a bunch of bubbles together as long as you don't pinch the original bubble. So you can still duplicate that one. So keep duplicating these bubbles until it looks something like this. And there's your lovely underwater scene. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Don't forget to share your results. And if you want to move on to your next project, then I think you'll like this video next. Thank you for watching. See you next time.